Welcome to our Midweek Thoughts. We begin today with a reading from Psalm 119. Teach me, O Lord, to follow your decrees, then I will keep them to the end. Give me understanding, and I will keep your law and obey it with all my heart. Direct me in the path of your commands, for there I find delight. Turn my heart towards your statutes and not towards selfish gain. Turn my eyes away from worthless things. Preserve my life according to your word. Well, you may be quite pleased to hear that I didn't read the whole of Psalm 119 because, as many of you know, it is the longest of the Psalms. Its 176 verses are divided into stanzas of 8 verses, each beginning with a successive letter of the Hebrew alphabet. So verses 1 to 8 begin with the first letter of the Hebrew alphabet, verses 9 to 6 begin with the second letter, and so on. And this type of acrostic poem was a common wisdom form in ancient Israel. It helped people to remember them. And part of the idea was that they summarised all that could be said or needed to be said about a particular subject, everything from A to Z. Adele Berlin says this about Psalm 145, which is another alphabetic acrostic. The poet praises God with everything from A to Z. His praise is all-inclusive. More than that, the entire alphabet, the source of all words, is marshalled in praise of God. One cannot actually use all of the words in a language, but by using the alphabet, one uses all potential words. The wisdom psalms are also those that provide instruction on how to live and what faith means, like the other wisdom writings of the Old Testament, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes and Job. And usually in the wisdom psalms, the path to wisdom is through following the Torah, the law of God. But the Torah as presented in Psalm 119 is not a strict set of rules and regulations. None of the specific injunctions of the 10 Commandments or the laws of Exodus, Leviticus or Numbers are mentioned. Instead, God's law is presented as a way of life or an approach to being that brings us closer to God. The psalmist's passion for God creates the desire to keep God's law. So this psalm is a meditation on the path to righteousness, the direction of holiness. It is only from within a right relationship with God that we are able to keep God's commandments. Law flows from our relationship with God and our longing for holiness. That's the case in the Old Testament, but is even more so when Jesus is factored into the equation. He was the new covenant. He changed things. He changed the relationship. During lockdown, we have become a lot more aware of technology and ways that we can use it and ways that it has changed things. When we look back 100 years to the epidemic of the Spanish flu, there would have been very little technology compared to what we have today. And technology is a great tool of communication. And things like the typewriter and the telephone have certainly enhanced the speed of communication, but not necessarily its content. But mobile phones have changed the way we communicate, the language we use, the words we understand. Texting has become a new verb. It's got its own language. And Twitter, with its limited characters, has helped to emphasise that as well. People use abbreviations like BTW, by the way, LOL, laughing out loud, TIA, thanks in advance, TTYL, talk to you later. Sometimes you have to learn this new language or try to figure out what it's trying to say. And there may be some of us that lament the change in the way we communicate, the apparent demise of proper English. But then we should remember that we have always used abbreviations. Almost everybody knows ASAP, or puts a PS at the bottom of a letter, or NB on the important items, nota bene. And all bureaucracies seem to abound in TLAs, 3-letter acronyms. Even the name has to be abbreviated. What has that got to do with the poems, with Psalm 119? Well, acronyms that we use make things easier for us. They've adapted, we've used them to help us to get our message across. The acrostic poems got the message across and made it easier to memorize when things were not written down. Jesus showed us how to live the law of the Old Testament through our relationships. He helped us to understand. And Psalm 119 reminds us that our God is not a God of arbitrary rules and regulations. God graciously gave the Israelites a means for living as God's people, not to restrict them, but to free them to truly be the people of God. He enters into that covenant with them, and Jesus brought us the new covenant. Whatever way we remember God, who He is, how to praise Him, God shows us the way to do it. God is with us to guide us through life and through worship. He is the Alpha and Omega. He is the A to Z of life. He is all there is. Let's join together and sing our hymn, 577, Christ be beside me.